Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Where Energy Meets the Divine. I'm recording this on December 8th, 2025. Happy New Year to everyone all around the world. One of the most popular questions I get is, what is my purpose in life? What is my divine plan? What am I supposed to be doing in the world? It is one of the most common questions I receive and have received throughout all the almost 30 years that I've been working with people energetically. And it's kind of a complicated answer. The solution really isn't complicated, like the end result is not complicated, and there are many purposes the soul has when they dive into a physical reality like Earth. It's not just one unique purpose. When I was very young, I wanted to have kids right away. I know, little cray-cray. And I got married young, 20. I just turned 20, I think 2 days after my wedding. And I wanted to have a baby right then. My children's father was wise when he said, I think I should finish college first. I'm like, yeah, probably a good idea. But even while he was at university, I made him sign a contract that I would have a child or get pregnant, right after graduation. And he has a good sense of humor. He wrote in Farsi, Shabako, which means I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're making this contract that you can get pregnant right after graduation. Luckily for me, I got pregnant before graduation and we had a baby at his graduation, a small child. And I was pregnant with their second, actually. So one of my purposes in life was to have children. It's something that has brought me tremendous joy. It's something that helped me to understand my intuition, because being a mom or a dad, a grandparent, someone who takes care of nonverbal creatures, young children, you have to become somewhat intuitive to understand their needs and to follow necessary, information that comes to you, that you allow to come to you because you are using your intuition. So, in saying all of that, I'm letting you know that that's just evidence of another purpose, that we all have layers and layers and layers and layers of purposes. There isn't just one thing. And then, of course, when I fell in love with energy medicine, that was also another purpose for me. And kind of an interesting purpose. I think this is the one purpose that a lot of people are looking for, like having a partner, if that's what somebody wants, or having children, if that's what somebody wants. Even having an amazing work environment, if that's what somebody wants. That has a lot of people involved, and that's lovely. But we can't control other people. We don't know what they're always going to do or how they're going to feel or what they're going to say. And so that makes things interesting and beautiful and challenging and difficult. But I think everyone, besides those purposes, if that's something that someone has recognized about themselves, like someone may want to live by the beach and walk the beach every day, that could be a purpose, literally. That when you find that one purpose that I think most people are asking me, it's something that feeds their soul as an individual. And I'm not saying that, these other topics that I mentioned don't feed you, but there is a purpose that's in the fibers of your being, deep in your DNA, your RNA, just like even me, wanting to have a baby right away, like get married, have a child, right? But there is this kind of singular, but it can morph, things morph and they grow and they change. Things don't stay the same. They're not supposed to anyway. That's boring. Singular thing that inspires you uniquely And even if other people are involved, it doesn't feel like it's like a dance and a relationship with yourself. Even like writing, when people write, even if they're writing fiction or nonfiction, it's really their perception about the situation or what they're writing about that is going to be filling the pages. It's about their relationship with themselves. So the multisensory world and being intuitive and working in the intuitive world does that for me, where I love it almost as much as I love my kids. It's actually a tie, but please don't tell them. I love it so much. But yet it's really about my relationship with myself, even though obviously it affects other people and I interact with other people. It's about relating with me on a very deep level that allows more of my skill set to come forward. So I think that's the purpose that people are looking for. Unless you're really young and you have a lot of purposes to unfold, a lot of experiences to have on earth. So what gets you to that place where you can unravel or dig deep into the tissue of your soul and your DNA and your RNA and unearth this powerful divine definition of yourself? And this kind of goes back to what I talked about a little bit in our last podcast, is really being able to speak your truth, which speaking your truth goes back to feeling your feelings. You can't speak your truth if you don't know how you feel about something. It's impossible. You can't. And there's this huge difference between mind-made emotions and real emotions, which we talked about a lot at the beginning of the last podcast. That might be a fun one to go listen to if you haven't. So it was recorded a few days ago. And the reason why this is so significant, because the fifth chakra, just right in your throat, governs the thyroid gland, mouth, teeth, and gums, the cervical vertebrae, so your neck, governs the shoulders. If you ever have a shoulder injury, it's going to be related to speaking your truth. If you have a thyroid issue, of course, the most prescribed medication in the US is thyroid medication, you're going to have a problem speaking your truth. You've got a cervical vertebrae problem. It's about speaking your truth. So a lot of people clearly don't speak their truth because they don't know what they're feeling. So they can't be in alignment with the fifth layer of the auric field. So it's about, from a textbook perspective, it's about 5 feet away from you, even though we want the aura to expand 3 city blocks in every direction. So it could be very far away from you. And it's this beautiful cobalt blue of energy that's where the embedment from an energetic perspective that's not within the body is where all of your purposes and gifts and abilities that are uniquely yours are deeply cemented. Like they'll never fade, they'll never go away, they'll never dissipate. They're deeply cemented into this third layer of the auric field, which is very exciting. But in order to get that field vibrating, because you want that fifth layer of the auric field to vibrate with its energy, it's powerful. It's connected to the fifth chakra. They're like best friends. Speaking your truth is extremely powerful. Getting that field to vibrate so that it starts to glow your natural gifts and talents and your natural abilities, which everyone has. Nobody has been missed in the giving of gifts. Everyone is uniquely beautiful and amazing and spectacular, magnificent, brilliant. They are. So to get that to vibrate, you have to know how you feel. You have to express your feelings. And even if you can't say them out loud, you need to write them down, or if you can't speak them to a human being, speak to a cat or a dog or a tree or the sky, the heavens, a wall, a picture. It doesn't matter how you express it, but there needs to be some form of expression to get that vibration moving from your throat chakra all the way to the fifth layer of your auric field, to shake it up, to get it vibrating so that all of a sudden you are guided by this illumination of more aspects of your truth, of your destiny, of your power. And real power is beautiful. It's calm. It's kind. It's compassionate. It's not power over. That's what we're working on Earth right now, is dissolving what many people call the masculine aspect of power over. Real masculine energy is not like that. So even though it's been exhibited, let's say, more consistently in male energy, That's not authentic male energy. No, that's just a made up energy out of fear, that we have to have power over other people in order to be successful, or countries. Ridiculous. That's not true. That's not true at all. Someday on Earth, even our borders will dissipate as we all become one. I often tell people when I teach classes and I'm trying to describe this concept about true power, even though, we may own homes or the bank may own part of our home, we don't really own land. We don't really own buildings. I mean, that's a reality that the human world has, but the earth is its own dominion, and we all belong to each other, right? Nobody owns really anything. That's another power over aspect, but we're many hundreds of years away from that type of concept coming into the vibration of humanity. And so older souls who are like waiting for that moment for all of this, power over energy to dissolve, need to like wake up and go, no, this is the time you chose to be in your body, and Earth is the way it is. And your job is to learn how to be individualized and to function in high personal power so that your life can reflect the joys and positivity that you desire, instead of waiting for the whole world to change, because that may never happen in your lifetime. And what a waste of your magnificence, waiting for the earth to have a rise in consciousness that wasn't even slotted for your reincarnation. It's going to happen, maybe 300 years from now, maybe sooner, but probably within that time period. So back to not believing what your brain tells you, learning to rest outside of your brain in the lower half of your body and get comfortable with how you're feeling. Asking yourself throughout the whole day, what am I really feeling? What am I really feeling now? What am I really feeling now? When you do this and you're away from your mind, you're going to notice that the mind is calm, relaxed, it's quiet, it's tranquil. And when real emotions arise from this lower half of your body, your awareness of them, they're also calm and tranquil and interesting and always a little bit surprising. So that's how you're going to get to your true purposes, is through that place. And we'll talk more about that in the podcast today, but I wanted to have this conversation before I start to go to the phone lines and answer your questions. And I realized that many people leave questions, which I'm grateful for. And it could be a long time before I answer your question. Not because we're picking and choosing, because we have a lot of questions, which is great. That was something that was really important for me to make sure we had plenty of questions to do our beautiful podcast. So I'm going to start answering questions now. And yeah, here we go.
Hi, Marie. This is Lori. I live in Florida, and I have a question for you about my health. I had a colonoscopy performed over 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, and I have been sick ever since with severe pain, nausea, chills, low temp at first, or high fever at first, and then it went to low temperature. I had a CAT scan done. I'm still waiting on results. The doctor doesn't know what went wrong. I'm wondering if you can tell what's going on in my body, my gut, what is causing this. I was feeling good before the colonoscopy.
Right.
And then immediately afterwards, I had severe pain, and I am getting dizzy on and off. I've fainted twice. I've had doctors from dispatch come to my condo and check my blood. The only thing that was off was my hemoglobin was a little low. I felt like I had the same symptoms of when I went septic 18 years ago. Right. So I got really scared, but I never went to the emergency room because my insurance doesn't cover it. But anyway, I appreciate anything that you can detect or sense that is going on with me right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I listen to you every week, and I just love you. I adore you. Thank you, Marie.
I love you too, Lori, and I'm sorry you're having a hard time. Yeah, we don't want the hemoglobin to be, I know it's a little low. The, kind of the worst negative thing that can happen with a colonoscopy is they could accidentally break through something, right, and create some bleeding. So I think it's great you've got a CT scan. And since they didn't know the results yet, most likely, either if you do have a bleed, it must be very slow, because if there was something going on, the technicians are going to alert, or a physician's going to be right there looking at the CT scan. So they look at those pretty rapidly, pretty quickly, but that would be, the one thing that we don't want to see happen. But you could have had a cold brewing before you went to have this procedure. If this turns out to be a cold, which, and right now in the United States, we have a lot of colds going around, a lot of abdominal issues, a lot of chills and fevers and, all kinds of symptoms going on. You could have just been on the brink of getting a cold, and then you go do a procedure and kind of stretch out your body and your immunity, and then boom, you've got a cold. So that's what I'm hoping is happening. But you did the right thing by getting a scan. If you still don't feel good, and I'm sure this has already been taken care of because this is probably months ago, pay the extra bucks and go to the ER. Because one of the things about emergency rooms is that the people who work there, the physicians and the nurses and the technicians, they're trained to really catch things quickly. Anybody could walk into the ER with any kind of problem going on. And so they have learned, obviously that's what emergency medicine is all about, is, probably using their intuition, whether they realize it or not, and their great skill set to find out what's really going on with someone. So I think the few $100s, I don't know how much it would be for you exactly, but even if it was $500, if you're still feeling cruddy, going to the ER is not a bad idea. But your doctors obviously were concerned and did the scan, which is a great decision. Some people may just have a drop in their hemoglobin just because it's not an indicator for sure of a bleed, but if it continues to drop, then that would be something for them to get curious about and see if they accidentally, in their scope, created a little problem. But it could be as simple as a cold. I think the real message in here is always go to the ER if things are problematic and you don't have a solution and you're getting worse. That's what I think. But I'm sure you're recovered by now and everything's fine. I think also the other thing here is that a lot of people think when they go and have a procedure or get a vaccine and something happens right after the procedure or the vaccine, they blame the procedure. But it could be that their immune system was just tilting. And if they want to get a tetanus shot and now they have a problem post-tetanus shot, it's because their immune system wasn't very strong to begin with, or they had a cold brewing underneath their body. So it's not always the procedures that cause the problem. That it can be just a coincidence or a synchronicity, or just a little bit more of a immune slowdown. Recently, my dentist, I'm scheduled to have a filling replaced, and they wanted me to come in, but I had been fighting a cold, and so I said, no, I can't go in. So I'm not saying you weren't feeling 100% before you had this procedure, but anyone who's not feeling 100% before they have a procedure, I wouldn't recommend it, including vaccines. Yeah, I would wait until you're feeling really, really good and healthy. Okay, I hope that's helpful, and I do hope you're feeling better now, because that would be amazing. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. I'm new to your podcast, which was recommended by a friend. I ran into this friend this morning and we got into a bit of a heated argument involving what our purpose in life is. I said it was to be of service to others. She said it was to be of service to oneself. As we dug deeper, she said it was your philosophy that we can only help others by helping ourselves. So that if we see somebody suffering, we should just acknowledge that that person has created their own reality and do nothing to help ease their suffering. I find it hard to believe that someone with your background would believe, let alone preach, such a philosophy, and wondered if you could clarify. Thanks very much.
Thank you, David. I'm sorry you guys were in that heated conversation. And I think when people get in a heated conversation, I think there's just a misunderstanding occurring and going on. First of all, older soul types like yourself and your friend, one of their main purposes, old souls collectively, when they come to Earth, is to learn self-compassion. So older souls have enormous compassion for others, and they've been working on elevating their compassion to such a high vibration, such an incredibly high vibration, that they are wonderful healers and givers and unconditional in their love for others. They're really quite superior in that ability. But all things need to be in balance. So you can't just have the ability to give at a high level if you can't receive at a high level, because everything's made out of energy. So if people are just giving and giving and giving and not receiving, it's going to make them sick. It's going to make them tired. I think I've said it on this podcast once before, but as a nurse working in the hospital, I've heard, I think 3, I believe they were surgeons who had worked with Mother Teresa, who selfishly gave at a very high level over and over and over again for a very long period of time. And the words they used to describe her, and this is not a joke, they called her mean as a snake. She wasn't happy. She wasn't fulfilled. It was too much for her. So it's not about not giving, but it's about giving in a way that feeds your energy. Like, I do this podcast because it makes me happy. When people do things, especially older souls, that bring them joy, they have a higher capacity to give in ways that can be incredibly fruitful and can help many more people, or provide something. And I'm not saying this podcast does this, but provides something that really affects humanity. When people are giving out of worry, out of fear, out of desperation, out of anxiety, they're hurting themselves, especially old souls. They're draining their energy, and then they can't be as productive on the human realm as they could be. Now, younger souls are individuals who haven't had as many lifetimes. So we were all young souls at one time. Older souls were all, we were all young souls. So younger souls are learning compassion. Those are the individuals who will be fed energetically if they see anyone suffering, that they go and take care of them. So it really depends on your motivation, David. Do you know how to be in alignment with yourself? Do you know how to feel your own joy? Do you know how to give in high frequency versus low frequency? I don't think people should give because they feel sorry for someone. I mean, souls are geniuses. They are having a lifetime on earth, every single one of them, for powerful and amazing and unique reasons. And again, I'm not saying don't help people, but help them out of joy. You will be 1,000 times better at the experience and be effective in ways that you never could have imagined.
Hi, Marie. My name is Sharon, and I'd like to ask about my son who's got this cough that he can't find any cure for. He's been to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, right, both medical and naturopathic, and nobody can seem to fix it since COVID. He had COVID 3 times, and the cough has been since that. He's also an alcoholic, so it complicates things for sure. And any insight you could give us about what maybe he can do, or changes he can make, or anything at all would really help. I hope you are well. You certainly look well in the podcast. And I appreciate all that you do. Thanks.
Thank you, Cher. And I'm sorry that your son has been having a hard time with his health and this coughing. People who are alcoholics are actually allergic to alcohol. Allergic. In fact, a lot of people who have food allergies, they're attracted to that food. So people who shouldn't eat dairy love cheese. People who shouldn't have wheat love pie, So alcoholics are allergic to alcohol. That's why they have a reaction and an addiction to the chemical. And I always recommend that people who are having long COVID, but I'm not 100% convinced this is all COVID related. You can't put poison in your body and not expect the body to react. So alcohol does all kinds of things to the body. All allergies do unique and different things to the body and get it to respond in a certain way. He really has to stop drinking. It's truly important for him. I actually feel like his health is not in a good place, number one. And then with the alcohol, it's just going to continue to kind of go downhill. He's reached his capacity. There's some people who can drink their whole life and they don't have serious health issues. I mean, they may just die one day, but they could be at an age that we think is acceptable for leaving our bodies. But your son, and I'm not making a prediction regarding your son, but I hear clearly from the other side, he's reached his capacity for alcohol intake. If the cough is related to COVID, which I'm not 100% convinced it is, it's almost like when something goes wrong with your body, and if we have an allergy in our system, like people who eat a lot of gluten, and because it's really not good for most human beings. The wheat that was created, at least in the US, is not very healthy. It's been a GMO since the 60s. So it's been played with, the wheat that we grow here in the United States. Europe is different. They don't have GMO. Not all the countries, I don't know all the countries, but the countries I've been to in Europe don't have issues with their wheat like we do. So taking zinc, like 30 milligrams a day, which zinc is usually at 15 milligrams, but to double up the zinc could be effective for his cough. But just know that as long as he continues to put poison for him in his body, he could continue to have health issues. The cough may not go away. It's like his body's talking to him like, dude, it's time to stop drinking. Dude, it might be best if he went into an inpatient facility, because he thinks that he can stop on his own. That's what he actually thinks. And I don't think he can. I don't think most people can stop their addictive behavior all on their own. I think they need help. And your son definitely does. So I'm also feeling like I'm not asking you to stop helping him, but you feel so guilty and responsible. And this is a grown adult who's responsible for his own life. He truly is. So if you could stop feeling guilty, stop feeling responsible, that might actually help him to choose to help himself. Because when a parent or someone that really cares about another human being is feeling guilty and kind of in that people-pleasing energy, the other person may not feel motivated to do things independently on their own. They've created like a weird pattern in the relationship. So if you start to feel guilty and really recognize your son is responsible for his health and his well-being. This is an intelligent man. He knows what's happening. I mean, maybe not completely, but he's an intelligent human being. And he must stop drinking. I think his whole health would change dramatically in ways that we have never, that you and he had never even anticipated when he stops drinking. So those are my thoughts. And try the zinc. That could be really helpful as well. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. It's Sharon from Canada. My question is about my family. In the last couple of years, my sister and mother have had a lot of conflict, specifically about how my sister didn't feel supported in that relationship, and in fact felt like a parent to my mother when she needed one herself. I've tried my best to be a listening ear and a support to both of them, sometimes successfully and sometimes unsuccessfully. My what if question is, what if our family was closer than ever before? My concern is that my mom is almost 81 years old and is very hurt and confused. My sister is getting to the place where she's tired of trying to be heard and is closing her heart to any healing and is just ready to accept the relationship as my mother is able to offer it to her. What is your advice to help promote healing in the family? Thank you in advance for all of your help, Marie.
You're very welcome. And I'm sorry this has been happening for a while in the family. But here's my advice, Sharon. Butt out. Stop it. You can't fix this. These are two adult people that have their own issues. You're so empathetic about this whole situation that you're taking it on as if it's your responsibility. Stop. And if either one of them starts to talk to you in a complaining way about the other, here's what I want you to say. I'm not your audience. I'm not your audience. I don't want to be a part of this conversation anymore, or whatever words you want to use. I think what this situation is trying to teach you is to set boundaries. Like, this is their issue. This is their problem, whether they ever figure it out or not. It's really none of your business. You got to back out of it. Family aren't necessarily family the way humans look at family. People are souls, and these two souls are having their own experiences that has nothing to do with you. So I think you need to butt out quick. So the what if question would be, what if I can be happy no matter what other people are experiencing? I want you to focus on yourself, focus on your own joy, and butt out. This is not your job or your responsibility. And they might actually take independent action to participate in a fair way, because they're both really immature about it, in my opinion. Almost like they're acting like they're in junior high about these situations. If you butt out of it, if you take your energy out, they're going to be forced to experience this differently. But as long as you keep your energy there and you're the referee, because that's what you've been doing, and you do it with other relationships as well, as long as you're the referee, they're going to keep on playing the game. But if you get out, fire yourself, you're creating a new dynamic, and one where they may independently come to a healthy resolution. But this is not about you. It's none of your responsibility. You're fired. That's what I think. That's what I would highly recommend anyway.
Hi, Marie. My name is Tammy. I'm from Missouri. I'm going to have a sacrocolpopexy surgery. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it's for a prolapse, and I've been a little bit nervous about it. I would greatly appreciate your advice or your input. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. A lot of the surgeries to help hold up the pelvic floor or hold up the bladder, especially when they're putting in mesh netting, I actually don't recommend. There's a documentary on Netflix all about this. I don't remember what it's called, but probably if you just Google Netflix documentary on mesh netting for pelvic floor issues, I bet the title is going to come up. Unfortunately, and you may have had this procedure because it's probably been several months since you left this voicemail. Unfortunately, a lot of the mesh netting becomes problematic and kind of grows into connective tissue, and people can have problems, pain, and all kinds of interesting things. I would recommend this, and I just heard about this recently. If you want to do a procedure, because what I would do if I was feeling a prolapse, which I actually felt in my own body, I went to a therapist and she said I didn't have one. My naturopath, when she's done a pelvic exam, says I don't have one, but I could feel it. So I started to do pelvic floor exercises, resting my pelvic floor, number one. But then I saw a master muscle activator. And once we got my neck stable, then we were able to do more work on my pelvic floor. So it's really about building muscles. So that's one way. But there's also another way that I just heard about. I don't have any significant issues, so I wouldn't seek this out. And I would encourage people to work in a healthy way to strengthen their muscles. Estrogen, when it starts to deplete, actually affects muscles. I know. And that's one of the reasons why we start to lose significant muscle mass as we chronologically change, because our hormones change. But there is a procedure where you get Botox injected into the bladder. And you can have relief right away, like leakage or, problems that are occurred to that, incontinence and things of that nature. Or it could take up to 3 days, and it lasts 6 to 9 months. So that could be a great temporary fix while you even investigate maybe working on your pelvic floor. I think Pilates is great for the pelvic floor. I really think that as we chronologically change, humans need to work on their muscle mass, not only to keep the pelvic floor elevated for men and women, but also, I mean, I have 6 grandchildren. I got to carry them around sometimes. Even the 7-year-old sometimes wants me to hold her. Charles loves to jump on everybody when they come in the house, and Camilla and Allie will scream at the top of their lungs. So if there's not 2 parents entering the house with Camilla and Alessandra, I'll hold Camilla, if she's scared. I think it's more of a game than anything else. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't taking strengthening exercises for my muscles. So that's my thought process on it. If you've had that procedure, then I'm sending you bright light that the mesh netting, and you may not have, who knows how many procedures are out there in the world, that it stays intact and works beautifully in your body forever. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Marie. My name is Candy, and I live in La Quinta, California. I know everybody says their message is urgent, and
yours is.
I'm scheduled for emergency surgery in a couple days, so I am having an urgent situation. I crashed my mountain bike about a week ago, and in the process, I shattered the head of my humerus. And the orthos have decided that the best course of treatment would be to give me a reversed shoulder replacement. Right. And I'm definitely not lined up for that, although I'm also not lined up for not being able to use my arm. It's my left arm, and I'm left hand dominant, and I'm a professional accordion player. Ooh. I'm really just hoping for some clarity, higher perspective, intuitive input, anything you can do to help. I'd be greatly, greatly appreciative of that. Thank you for all the work you do.
You're very
Take
welcome.
care.
Oh, thank you, Candy. You're very welcome. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I mean, how scary is that? First, let's talk about the energetic reasons that affect the shoulder. And the shoulder is about burdens. And yours is on the left-hand side. So the left-hand side of the body is receptive. So when people injure the left-hand side of their body, it means that they're not good at receiving. They could be great givers. They could be very fiercely independent and strong people and think they don't need any help. I can relate to that. But everybody deserves to have help in their life and people in their life to care for them. And so the burden it could even be a burden that you don't let people help you. It could be a burden that you give too much to others and you're not receiving. But there's a burden that's in your life. It's been in your life for a while because you significantly shattered an important part of your shoulder structure. Like I would go for the replacement. I don't know if that's the best way. I would definitely interview another set of orthopedic surgeons in a different hospital. Because if you interview other orthopedists in the same hospital, they're all friends. They all talk to each other. That's not a bad thing, but you may not get a second opinion. So if I were to ever get a second opinion, I would choose a different facility, even if it was out of state, even the Mayo Clinic's a fabulous place. I know that's a travel, but, and you're in California, I hope, because I'm recording this on December 8th, I hope that your home is safe from the fires, because I'm not sure exactly where you live, but I hope that your home is safe from the fires. So I would get a second opinion from another set of orthopedists in a different hospital and see if that one feels better. But a shattered, hub where everything is going to be holding on and connected to your shoulder, you're most likely going to need a replacement. And replacements, they work great in people's bodies, knees, hips, shoulders. I think orthopedists have really perfected the art of replacement, joint replacements, and people are definitely pleased with it. In your case, where you haven't had a breakdown over a long period of time, where you have an accident and it's just this, my shoulder was fine and now it's terrible, you may not feel as grateful and thrilled as someone who's had, bone on bone or a breakdown of muscles and ligaments and tendons over a period of time, because then they get a replacement and they just have enormous freedom. So that's a possibility. But I think for your activity level, you're going to need a replacement. And remember, God made doctors too, and surgeons and ORs and scalpels and joints replacements. He made artificial joints. Creation made everything. So that would be my thought. And to keep that joint healthy, regardless of what you choose to do to heal it, you will need to learn to receive, which is a passive experience. It's not an action item to be receptive. It's like closing your eyes for like 5 minutes first thing in the morning and imagining that all your pores are open and you're allowing light or water or color, honey, something to come in, like, and maybe repeat a few what if questions throughout the day. What if I easily receive? What if it's comfortable for me to receive? What if I'm free to be receptive? Not analyze or process these questions, but just let them rotate and change the calibration of your energy about receptivity. I think that would be lovely. And if whatever burdens you have, remove them from your life. They're not supposed to be there. That's why people get shoulder problems, whether it's a frozen shoulder or an accident or some other disease process. It's because the energy is depleted in that area. And that's why, like, if someone gets in a car accident and someone doesn't speak their truth, this is why we have so many neck problems when people get in car accidents. They think it's because of the car, they get whiplash. But if they were speaking their truth, their neck would be a lot more stable and they probably wouldn't have an injury. Or if they even had a slight one, it would repair very, very quickly. So the energy is already depleted when we injure ourselves in a certain area or we gain a disease process. There isn't vital life force flowing in the area. So then if something happens, we're at risk for a health issue, or in your case, an injury from an accident. I hope you are feeling better. I hope it's already been repaired and that you love it and that you're playing your musical instrument with freedom. And thank you everyone for listening to this show. I wish you many, many beautiful, joyful blessings. Bye-bye for now.